Let's go shooting back up to the top and do Formula One. A chance for you to ask some questions to Martin or Alex in a second. Just very quickly, 2010, we have so many variables. We've got top drivers switching among top teams. How are you going to call it?
I'm going to call it the way I see it, as I always do, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think we're going to not know where to look next in terms of no refueling. The cars will look similar, but slightly longer wheelbase. They'll carry a lot more fuel. They'll be a good 4 seconds a lap slower at the beginning of the race than at the end. Because of the weight of the fuel, the strategies will change completely. We've got Michael Schumacher versus Lewis Hamilton. That's a privilege we thought we would missed out on forever. We've got Lewis v. Jensen, of course, at McLaren. McLaren versus Mercedes, their longtime partner. We've got so many grudge matches on the grid in many respects, and rivalries. New teams, new drivers, 26 cars, we hope. And it should be absolutely brilliant.
Okay, let's have some questions. Anything we perhaps haven't covered for Martin and Alex? As a McLaren fan, clearly there.
All right, Martin. Just a quick question. Did you let Alex decide to do motorsport on his own, or did you just wake up one day and go, right, I'm going to do motorsport like what my dad did?
Well, basically, I push him. He's often offered me an opportunity to stop going motor racing because it's just so expensive, to be honest. I mean, I'm thinking if I turned around tomorrow and said, you know what, Dad, I don't think this motorsport's going anywhere, I think he'd probably have a small party and save a lot of money. But, I've always had massive support from my parents, which has been fantastic, and my mum especially, who's, I know, sitting up there, has almost never missed a race, which is great to have that kind of parental support. I know a lot of people that have come up to me and said, if I had the kind of parental support that you had, who knows what I would have done, and I agree with them. I have a great family around me, and I'm really thankful for that.
But I don't push him. If he wants to drive, then it's up to him, isn't it? As he says, if he stops, I'll be very happy because, the sort of money that you have to put into it, you can buy properties, you can start businesses, and sometimes I think people, there needs to be a reality check from time to time is whether it's still the right thing to do. But the last thing, I'm not racing through Alex's eyes, that's for sure. I raced through my own eyes, and I was very satisfied with that. But I can't deny him the opportunities I had, that's for sure. He deserves a chance to prove whether he's got what it takes.
I do feel sorry for Liz, actually, because she went through it all with you, and it might be happening all again.
I think it's tougher for Liz with Alex. I think it was Ron Haslam's wife who came up with an amazing statement of you can replace your husband, but you can't replace your son. And I thought, I thought at the time, that's a bit strong, but she's absolutely right, of course. Your son's your own flesh and blood. Husbands, you can pick them up anyway, I'd have thought.
If you're listening, Liz. Right, let's have another question. Any more questions?
We must have answered everything already.
Yeah.
Hi, Martin. Eddie Irvine's recently said that the changes that have been taking place in Formula One over the last 10 years have been a bit comical and taken away from the heritage of the sport. Would you agree, and how would you sum up the last 10 years and where the sport is going for the future?
I think sports have to evolve to an extent, and they compete with each other for fans' attention, for television time, for sponsorship. So there's an inevitable evolution in that respect. I do agree with Eddie that it is frustrating you can't compare eras in terms of points or podiums you can, but points and points scored in your first race and all of those things suddenly don't matter anymore because the statistics are badly swerved with the changes. Eddie likes to say things to, get a bit of voice and make a big statement. But he's a bright boy, and if Eddie Irvine says something, I will read it. I don't always agree with it, and I agree with part of what he said.
Okay, a couple more. Any questions? There must be something you want to get off your chest.
Sunday
Anything.
Morning. They're all looking forward to roast beef.
Behind you, Si, back where you were. You might have to vault the barrier.
Hi lads, quick question, just regarding the Formula 1 parade lap. We're constantly told that it's all about warming up the brakes and warming up the tyres. I go to Silverstone to see the British Grand Prix every year. We also watch it on the TV. They never seem to go at the speed you would expect them to warm them up. The point that I'm making here is that whoever's on pole seems to sit there for ages. Isn't it about time they came up with an idea of making sure that the parade lap, once the first car had crossed the line, that the last one came to it within a certain time? A bit like the old qualifying where they had to get with something like 107%.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And we did used to have to do that. It was a thing from Jean-Marie Balest. He was manic about it. At the next race, he would tell us how long it took us to form up on the grid, and we had to do it in under half a minute. Because it's very unfair for the pole sitter, because his engine's overheating and his tyres are cooling down. The reason that they don't go to the grid very quickly in recent years is they're all saving fuel, desperately saving fuel. So they've got a bit of a paradox in that they've got to warm up the tyres and brakes, but not use any fuel to do it. And that's why they move it around so much sideways and not necessarily get the speed going. I'm assuming now with full tank situations and the fact that you can now qualify on empty tanks this year, that they might charge around a little bit. But it's the pole position man's job to control the pace, and there should be a time limit. If they're dawdling at the back, especially what's even more pertinent now from what you're saying is with 26 cars on the grid, it's going to be quite a bit more critical.
There is a car length limit, isn't there? There's a 10 car length limit of how far you're allowed to be behind the car in front, but it doesn't. I don't think it relates to time of forming up on the grid.
And of course, Formula One is sort of setting standards, and these young guys, they're picking up racing etiquette on all different levels, watching what Formula One's doing. And if Formula One doesn't do it properly, the junior series won't either.
No, it's absolutely true. If a young driver like Alex sees Michael Schumacher running people off the racetrack, as he used to like to do in his former life, they're going to think it's fine, aren't they? And that's what they're going to do. And I think Michael did it because he saw Senna doing it, and he saw Senna almost revered for running Prost off the road in Suzuka back in 89 or 90, whenever it was. And I think
both years.
Yeah, and I think Michael thought, well, he was revered for that. I'll have a go at that. But it does filter down, doesn't it?
Sterling Moss said on Saturday, we couldn't possibly have condoned that. One of us would have been killed.
Well, and there is the answer, isn't it? That's the...
So bring back Maserati 250Fs and put trees right at the edge of the track.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
There is that paradigm that if you put a big spike in the middle of the steering wheel, then driving safety would be perfect.
Yeah, absolutely right. Any more before we let the Brundles go? Behind... Oh, yeah, okay, 2 more. Excellent.
Martin, with the lack of testing now for new drivers and so on, do you think it's a bit harsh on the Alguersuaris and the Grosjeans of this world that just seem to be getting chewed up and spat out?
I think there's 2 aspects to that. Yes, I do. 2 aspects to that. They're being put under the spotlight too early. They're not ready for it. Alguersuari's got nowhere near enough experience to cope with driving a Formula 1 car. It's not like running a spec Formula 3 Dallara where it's pretty much set up for you. An F1 car has to be designed by the team, and they're all running prototypes and very few of them. And to learn how to make your one work is tough, and you need some experience and some knowledge to do that, and how to get the best out of your engineers. And then not allowing them to go on the track either just finishes them off, doesn't it? They don't have a prayer, frankly. They've got to change that system, and it's the same even if you're Pedro De La Rosa or Gary Paffett and you're a reserve driver. How are you going to keep your neck muscles up to speed? It's suddenly, with Felipe Massa having his accident, they needed a reserve driver in, and that reserve driver hadn't got any mileage. Badaway, he wasn't fast enough either, was another small problem they had. But, how on earth are you going to keep your drivers sharp and fit if they can't go around the racetrack? It can't save money in the end. It must cost money.